Hey everybody, welcome to another video review. I haven't done one for quite a while. Just a lot of things, of course, happening in real life, so to speak. But I decided to get back to it. I wanted to continue sort of my quest to talk about all of the master replicas, lightsabers. I think I mentioned before that there are 25 of them in the main master replicas line. There's a couple of, odd ones from EFX, some duplicates, but try to get, most of them, if not all of them. And I'm kind of cleaning up the rest right now. There's still quite a bit left. I mean, still got, I think, about 4 or 5 left, but we're getting pretty close. So this is the Yoda episode 3 lightsaber. I did one of the one from episode 2, Attack of the Clones. So this is from Revenge of the Sith. Again, it comes in its nice mirror base acrylic case. How should I begin? And it's been a while since I've done one of these. I used to have like a flow, right? I used to kind of talk about the piece in a certain way, and then I would go on from there. I'm trying to remember the flow. I probably should have rewatched one of my earlier videos, maybe the Attack of the Clones version, before doing this. But as you know, I don't prepare a lot for these. I just kind of ad-lib them in the time I have. I bought this from a gentleman on the Rebel Scum. I actually initially came across him on the forums, and then I tracked him down on eBay, then we talked some more, and then we wound up making a good deal actually on Rebel Scum. This is in actually pretty decent shape. It comes with all of its original packaging and certificate of authenticity and all of that. It doesn't have the original brown shipper, but it has the color box. One of the things I like to mention immediately is that the packaging for this is a lot more professional, a lot better than the Attack of the Clones Yoda. That one, which I didn't really know or appreciate, was actually released really darn early. It was like, I think like the Vader dual signature, Count Dooku generation early, Empire Strikes Back, Luke early. And so, the brown shipper, as with those releases in that generation, was just very basic. It didn't have a color box. So number one, already I can tell you that the packaging for this is a lot better, a lot more professional, a lot more secure. That's number one. Number two, everything is just a little bit better in terms of the base. So while Yoda's lightsaber is obviously very, very small, the base is smaller, but this base is still bigger than the Attack of the Clones one. When I get around to it, I'll probably make another video just sort of comparing the two side by side, so it's a little bit more instructive. I've done a couple of those videos, but for now you have to just take my word for it that definitely the base and the critic case is a little bit more solid, a little bit better quality, just a little bit bigger, allows the piece to breathe. Where Attack of the Clones, Yoda's lightsaber really did feel like almost like, I hate to say it, but almost like a cheap child's toy. This one, while obviously still true to the size because it is Yoda's lightsaber, smaller, it just feels more like a prop replica, the quality just a little bit better. So that's something that immediately comes to mind. Another thing is, again, because of the later generation of its release, this is in the same release as the Luke Skywalker New Hope Signature Edition, the same generation as all of the Revenge of the Sith releases, obviously. Anakin, Darth Vader, Obi-Wan, Darth Sidious. It comes with the 2 plaques. We've been through this in multiple videos, so I won't delve too deeply other than to say that they didn't have a worldwide edition number with the original plaques, and so they had to make another plaque, which was sent out later, and that really became problematic. A lot of people never got the second worldwide edition plaque, and now, almost a decade later, when we're trying to collect these, and those of us who missed out the first time are trying to collect them, those plaques become important. We really do want them, in our collection, and finding a Revenge of the Sith Yoda with both plaques, becomes a little bit problematic. I was fortunate enough to actually get all of the worldwide edition plaques from a separate source, and that made tracking down these hilts from Obi-Wan to Anakin obviously a lot more straightforward, because I just had to focus more on the quality of the hilt, and I didn't have to worry about having to also have a second edition plaque. You'll be pretty shocked at how few of these are out there that have the second edition plaque with it. You have to try to track them down. It's really hard to do, actually, all these years later. It's getting harder with every year. So I'm pretty happy with that. It looks really good. Again, the case is a little bit bigger, so the two plaques side by side just feels like it has a little bit more room to breathe. Okay, so there you go. In terms of the price point, it goes all over the place. Again, so many things play a role in it. Is it completely unboxed? Does it have the brown shipper? All of these things make some difference. But I would say that for me, I know because it has a color box that's already very nicely protecting everything. I don't really care about the brown shipper as much. You have to have the second edition plaque right there. But I got this one for a really decent price, $650 shipped in the continental United States, which is definitely a solid price for what it is. So there you go. I'm gonna kind of turn it around, and then we're going to look at the lightsaber in some detail. I did my normal brilliant eyes polish with the case. It's really good shape. The mirror base has a couple little tiny scratches, which again you're not getting that out even with the brilliant eyes. All these mirror bases have these little tiny small imperfections, which you just have to kind of live with at this stage. It's a really hard thing to do well. Eventually, if you really want to, you can of course invest and have custom made mirror bases and cases for these sabers if you wish. But this is what Master Replicas had to play with at the time. They did a damn good job with the resources they had. If you talk to say Steve Dimzo, who was a creative director and one of the founders of Master Replicas, he'll tell you that it was just a very unique time in collecting, that they were even able to get the license, have the connections of the different factories in China to put out a product like this that was even possible. And it's probably not even the best business decision. I think they made reasonable money, but and eventually they did lose the license. It wasn't quite sustainable, but it had a really good run. And to this date, for a license as important to so many people's hearts, as Star Wars, it's really just a special gift that Master Replicas gave to all of us, collectors and fans, to give us a little piece of movie magic from the movies that we love so much. And so I'll always be very grateful for that. So these little tiny imperfections in the acrylic and the mirror base, you just sort of live with. They're almost like antiques and such. So let's get rid of the acrylic case. We're gonna put that aside. I think I'll put it over here. It's a little bit easier. And then as usual, we're gonna bust out with a black background so we can focus a bit more on the actual beautiful lightsaber itself. I'll eventually pick it up, but there you have it. Let's turn this around. This is the battle damaged version. So again, the idea behind this is that the Attack of the Clones version is like, the pristine lightsaber. And this one sort of, shows what it looks like after, years of fighting in the Clone Wars. Because remember that Revenge of the Sith occurs at the end of the Clone Wars. So the entire Clone Wars, as outlined by, as created by Dave Filoni, the animated series, occurred between the events of Attack of the Clones, Episode 2, and Revenge of the Sith, Episode 3. So this has more battle damage, is a bit more weathered, has claw marks from Yoda's, hand. I guess it's okay. It's a nice enough idea. Execution, we'll have to just see whether I really like it that much. But the overall shape and size of the lightsaber is basically the same. I think they spruced it up a little bit. Maybe there's a couple extra gemstones or whatever, in the control box area and all that. They definitely did away with the rubber coating, which I'm really thankful for. I guess they couldn't have put in the claw marks and stuff through that rubber, so they did away with that. So I'm reasonably happy that they did away with that. I really am not a big fan of that rubber coating that's in a lot of the hilts. And there you have it. So kind of turn this around a little bit extra so you can get to appreciate it from all the different angles while it's resting on its acrylic legs. And then we'll get to the certificate of authenticity in a second. So here, I'm gonna put this aside. Let's take a look at the certificate of authenticity. As you can see, this is a little smudge here, but this is the black envelope with master replicas. That's very typical for that generation. It opens up, not a real envelope, but it opens up in 4 quadrants. So a little bit more no frills, you know, it just has the limited warranty, and then it comes with the certificate. Revenge of the Sith, official prop replicas. So this one doesn't have the bag with the microfiber cloth. It doesn't have the you know, what is it, the Master Replica Society card, and you know, the registration. It doesn't have all of that, but again, not to bother by that. The most important thing again is it has the actual paperwork. So let's open it up. So at least I have this thing stamped in gold, which I like. Nice touch. Letting you read that. So as you can see, does not mention Yoda. This is a generic certificate of authenticity on this side. And again, missing these signatures. The CEO, which we've looked at in the past, which I really kind of miss. And here you go. It's Yoda lightsaber from Star Wars Episode 3: Revenge of the Sith. I'm going to center it and then just sort of slowly move up so you can read it at your leisure by pausing. All right, very good. So the most important thing I like to highlight, even though I know that, of course, you're going to read all of this yourself, is just like with the Attack of the Clones version, this lightsaber was never actually truly made. It was completely digital, just because Yoda was digital. And so they actually, in order to replicate it, they utilized the computer files and reference images supplied by Lucasfilms, and also they added a couple of creative touches to differentiate the Episode 3 Yoda from its Episode 2 appearance. As you can see here, the main difference is a darker stainless steel look to the finish, and the various accents of battle damage have been added to represent several years of combat service in the Clone Wars. And I think they also, again, added a few gemstones and things like that. So this is a little bit different in the sense that, unlike some of the other lightsaber hilts, they had a little bit more, I think, creative freedom to play with, because this was all digital. They used the files from Lucasfilm, and they were able to kind of modify it a little bit, again, just to differentiate. So I kind of like the idea of the battle damage. Let's see if they execute it well. Here's the plaque. This is the one that actually shows you. It's limited number 487. You can see the Revenge of the Sith, Yoda lightsaber, and then the Lucasfilm and Master Replicas logos. So that's nice. This is the actual number. I'll put that aside. And then, of course, I literally just opened this factory sealed for this review. You can see this is the edition size, Episode 3 Revenge of the Sith, Yoda lightsaber, limited edition, worldwide edition size of 2,900. And this was released on October 1st, 2005. So nice information right there. Let's put that away. And now let's take a look. I'm going to put this further back. Let's lift this lightsaber off so I can show you up close what things look like. So the thing, of course, that immediately comes to mind is that you have more of these scratches and dings. A scratch right there. Again, there's no rubber surface over this. I didn't have to strip. Here's more scratches. I think these are actually supposed to represent I mean, part of it's battle damage, but part of it I think also represents basically Yoda's claws digging through this. So again, hopefully you can kind of get to see this battle damage a little bit nicer. So I believe, yeah, each panel has a little bit of battle damage. Here you have the 2 claw marks. Here you got 3, and then 1 with a little bit more rips here, and another one over here with rips. So that's the battle damage you can see here. You can clearly see 2005 Lucasfilm LTD. Embossed back here, Master Replicas. You can see the knurling over here. And I'm pretty sure that this part here, there's an extra green crystal here that wasn't on the Attack of the Clones. We'll be able to see this in more detail once I compare it side by side. You can see the wear at the edges, right over here. You can see the weathering here as well. You can see all of the details of the edges here, all worn away. And then additional scratch marks on the stainless steel. You can see the various scratches here. And then finally, of course, the emitter with the bent shroud. And then take a look right over here. So yeah, I mean, overall, it still feels light, but it has a bit more heft and weight to it than the Attack of the Clones one. I've got a record saying I'm not a huge fan of Yoda's lightsaber, just because, you know, again, I'm not really a fan of Yoda having a lightsaber to begin with. I don't really like the size of it, but I infinitely prefer this version over the Attack of the Clones ones. Even though the Attack of the Clones one is the so-called pristine version, I just feel like the construction of this one is just better in my opinion. I just like it better. I like the weight of it. I like the feel of it better. I like the extra details. I think that the battle damage is sort of hit or miss with me. I mean, I think it's nice in the sense that it does add a little bit of accent to the piece, adds a little bit of flavor, a little bit of character. You can see, again, a little bit more battle damage right over here. You can see the subtle marks here. But I think its execution to me is just a little bit hit or miss. It's a little bit random. I mean, I would have preferred maybe a bit more weathering. And these random scratches, I don't really know what to make of it. Like, I'm pretty sure the reasoning for it, I think, is just because Yoda has basically like claws practically. And so maybe, you know, over the years, he just scratched them up. But it still seems a little bit haphazardly placed. It's just these random claw marks like all over the place. I can't imagine why else you would have these scratches, right? I mean, we don't have these scratches in the other saber hilts, for instance. You can see the 3, scratches over here. Again, the imperfections and all of that, which is fine. But if you really wanted to weather it, I guess I would have preferred maybe a little bit more heavy weathering, like, the Obi-Wan Kenobi New Hope version, right? That's like really weathered. It really looks like it's gone through the ringer. Maybe not as bad as all that, because I think that's supposed to show what it looked like after 20 years in the deserts of Tatooine, but maybe a bit more, weathering. And again, sort of the idea of these scratch marks, are they really from Yoda's nails, or are they just random scratch marks from wear and tear? I'm not quite sure about. But in any case, I don't think it's horribly done. I just think that for me, it doesn't quite work, as well for me, as I think maybe they would have wanted it. But okay, that's fine. You have these scratches that differentiate. I like the fact they added a little bit of gemstones here and here. I forget which one is the extra one. I like to think that this might be the extra one, but I'll have to see. But yeah, it feels good in my hand. I would still place this in like the bottom 5th of all of the lightsabers. I do put both Yodas down there, in the 21 to 25 range, but this is pretty darn good. I mean, again, for sure, I like it better than the Attack of the Clones version. So again, just sort of showing you all of the different details, rotating it around, so you have a good idea what all of that looks like. And the little touches that they added. Hopefully on the camera, you can see the small scratches that they sort of engineered. So you can see the weathering really well. There you go. Point out all of the weathering here on the edges. And then of course the scratches and dents. I don't know what the heck this is supposed to be here. It's not really a scratch, but how did that get there? It's just sort of being worn off, I guess. All right, there you go. Let's put everything back together. I'll give you my final thoughts. So one of the things is I'm trying to put this thing nicely. I mean, I love to show this, but it very clearly is supposed to go on like this. So you can't actually, unfortunately, see the control box as well as you should. Let's have the two plaques side by side where they're supposed to go. And then the acrylic cover. You can see the reflection really shows up with the black background, so we'll take that off so it's less distracting. And so here we go. Limited edition of 2,900, of which this is 487. Happy to have it in my collection. I would have needed it eventually. So at this point, if you're still counting, I still need to acquire the Anakin Skywalker signature, which is sort of a major piece for me. Luckily, I do have that secured. I'm just waiting for it to close the deal and get that over here. So I need that one, but I've got that secured. I have an Obi-Wan weathered, which I did win on eBay, but unfortunately without the certificate of authenticity. So I'm gonna have to eventually try to find that. That won't be easy to get, but at least I have the lightsaber and the hilt. And then, you know, I have the two Yodas. I got the Darth Maul battle damaged. I still need the original Darth Maul signature edition, which I do have secured. It's just in line waiting to be bought. And the one that I actually have not been able to source is actually supposed to be one of the easiest, but I just haven't been able to get it for a price point in a condition I like. It's the Obi-Wan Kenobi from Attack of the Clones, which was really not sold with its own display case. You had to buy it separately from Master Replicas, and a lot of people actually just sourced it and created a custom case for that one. So I still need to get that. So that's the only one that's kind of like out in the wild I haven't secured yet. I don't have physically Anakin Signature Edition, Maul Signature Edition, or the Obi-Wan Weathered, but those are, you know, secured. The only one I haven't actually secured is the Obi-Wan from Attack of the Clones. So that's the last one of the 25 core set that has been my quest for about the past 9 months to obtain. So I guess that's kind of crazy because, you know, a lot of things can happen in 9 months, and usually you're not able to get all of these pieces in only 9 months. So when you look back on it, I guess that's pretty, you know, cool that I managed to get it, get all of them. Not all of them completely in box though, and not all of them completely perfect. There are little dings here or there, but you know, you have to kind of roll with it. Some of these things are insane price, like an imperfect Obi-Wan Kenobi as first built with a deep, ugly scratch on the pommel, you know, is on eBay for like $4,500, which is just pretty crazy. So, you know, when you get one of these with a little tiny, you know, stress fracture in the corner of the case, or a little tiny stress fracture where the feet touches the display, I mean, you know, for me at least, I just feel lucky to even get the actual hilt itself, and feel blessed to be able to get that. So I'm not going to be too fussed about that. So again, pretty happy that I managed to get all of those. And before I end this video, it seems like every video I think I'm gonna be like pretty quick, but it always winds up being half an hour because there's just so much to talk about. I guess a lot of things changed. I mean, a lot of the YouTube videos that inspired me on YouTube, there's so few of them. The other guy who had the most videos besides me, Alex from Canada, I mean, he recently decided to liquidate his collection. He was so excited to get so many of these awesome pieces, especially the signature edition versions. I mean, he had all of the Lukes at one point, and he added a Dooku and an Anakin on top of that. I mean, that's pretty amazeballs, and his videos were kind of what inspired me in a way to kind of get into it more, and then I found out that he wanted to buy a new car or something, which is all power to him, good for him, but he sold almost all of his hilts to help fund that. And so I don't really know that there's a whole lot of other videos on YouTube about this. There's a couple from Star Wars Theory, but he seems to have petered out a bit. He has a couple hilts, but a lot of it from the prequel trilogy. But he's not quite the same as Alex or me. I know there's guys out there, who own most of these or who are really passionate, but they don't really put their stuff out on YouTube. And so my series, I guess, once done, will be probably the definitive series on YouTube for these hilts. So I hope, I do them justice. I hope I give enough detail and that, people who come later on can get a really good feel for, like, what this is about. It's never the same as having one in your hand and having one in person, but hopefully these videos will give some people an experience that's kind of approaches that a little bit, so they can see how beautiful these works of art are and how special they were when Master Replicas made them, and to appreciate the artistry and the quality. So I forge on, I forge on ahead by myself, and will continue until we have every piece I can. I forgot there is a guy, Gabe from Star Wars Replicas, I think. So he's still doing his thing, but his collection again is not quite as thorough as mine. He has a lot of really good pieces, but he doesn't have like every piece, because he's not like a lightsaber centric, right? He collects like basically everything, ships, props, everything. So again, not many out there not many channels or resources out there that really delve into these lightsabers in as much depth as I do. So this is it. This is Yoda, Revenge of the Sith lightsaber. Really, really nice piece. Really happy to get it. I think the next one I'm going to review is going to be a little bit outside the box. I'm going to do the review on the EFX Ahsoka Tano Signature Edition. Break it up a little bit. It's not a Master Replicas, but it is a pretty sought after collectible, and with the release of the Ahsoka series on Disney Plus, it's going to become, I think, a little bit more out there in terms of value and notoriety. So until then, hope you enjoyed this one, and do take care.